How's it going, coffee peoples of the nation? We're going to be doing a Fire Emblem Engage review. So I've played this game for over 600 hours, which is probably too much time, only on Maddening mode. If you're wondering why my voice sounds weird, I am currently sick. It's just a minor cold, just kind of annoying. It's nothing too serious. But all right, so let's go over the game. What's going on with the game? I'll break it down by a few different things. So we have art, story, gameplay, mechanics and systems, and for my own personal enjoyments, we'll talk about balance / integrity. Okay, this is not a DLC review. This is the base game. This is assuming you're using the well, and I'll also do like a kind of mini review without the well. All right, so but the game before the well update, I would say is my favorite version of the game. It was really hard to get passives, which I think is actually a good thing. Resources were very scarce, and you had a hard time pretty much doing, like, breaking the game, right? Like, if you wanted to do certain things, you had to save up. So if you wanted to really run certain passives, you'd have to save up for them. And the game didn't let you get away with much. You had to plan your team carefully. And that version of the game, 1.0.0, I would give like a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 9.5, because it was just so fun. It was so balanced, it was so rigidly balanced, which is something I can appreciate. All right, so let's go into the current game, right? So let's talk about the art. So before I make some opening moves here on this paralog, this is a 7-man run I'm doing on Maddening, base game, no DLC. So the art, I think, is actually really good, especially for the Switch. Apparently this game is made in Unity, which is also impressive because as far as I know, Unity is kind of hard to optimize. So they've managed to make a good-looking game where you have good-looking VFX, you have good-looking graphics and animations. I don't see, like, bad-looking textures anywhere. Certain outfits, like Nell's outfit, has kind of like low-res textures. But one thing I think they did to get around this was they used solid colors. So, like, look at Fram's outfit here. There's a lot of solid colors, which you can't really tell if those are low texture or not because it's just a color. So you can't, if you have like a pattern, that's when you start to see, this like down sampling. You can kind of see it on like some parts of the horse, but it's, it's a Switch game. The Switch doesn't have the best hardware because it's, this flexible platform and the price point is low. So I don't expect it to be like pushing crazy FPS at, super HD graphics or whatever. So it runs at 60 FPS. It looks really good. It definitely looks better than Three Houses in my opinion. This design in particular, like Chloe's design, feels more like a Pegasus Knight, and there's not really much aliasing, so anti-aliasing seems to be a thing, versus Three Houses definitely had a lot of jagged edges. So in terms of art, especially the fact that it's on a Switch, and in terms of just like raw performance, I would give this game a 10 out of 10 just for that. For the art category. So for art, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because it runs really well, it looks really good. It also factors in the fact that it's on Switch hardware, so the engineering required to get it to look this good and run this well was, impressive. Honestly, Nintendo regularly blows me away with certain engineering. Like, I remember Metroid Prime being released, and I was like, looking at all the other GameCube games, I'm like, how does this look this good? And it just does. Like, I don't know how they do it. They're pretty good at that. They're pretty good at engineering. All right, let's see if we can accomplish something here. We have all these enemy axe users, which I'm not a fan of, but we're gonna tank them as best we can. Let's see, paladins. All right, I double them. Use a little chain guard here. All right, I guess she can go in. She is one of my tanks. She's not built yet, though. All right, so in terms of art, I would say 10 out of 10, maybe a 9 out of 10 if you want me to be more difficult and strict with the tiering. In terms of story, I'm gonna be honest with you. I skip like 90%. I skip 100% of the cutscenes. Oh, he has Swordbreaker, doesn't he? Okay. They throw in random abilities like this sometimes to get you. So they did that with me here. So what is Swordbreaker? It's a passive you don't have access to. And I that's my fault for not checking what they have. So randomly some enemies on some paralogs will have silly abilities like this. So he doubles me when he shouldn't, essentially. But I could just pull like this. They want to be difficult in this way. All right, and then you go over here. Okay, so in terms of story, from what I've seen of the story, it definitely doesn't have a strong story. I would have to rate the story low, to be honest. I don't play these games for the story. I don't care about the story at all, if I'm being completely honest. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my gameplay. It doesn't affect anything. Like, I run the units that I want to run, especially if they're good, and I build the team I want to build, and that's what I do in Fire Emblem games. All right, now in this situation, what we can do, she doesn't have a sword. She does have a poleaxe, though. So we'll see. Oh, what's her hit rate? 113. Let's check. Let's check. You know, that's 46 avoid. All right, so her hit rate's not going to be very good on poleaxe, so we might as well just use this. All right, this should be a better enemy phase. So in terms of story, I would say this is mostly a game for its gameplay and its mechanics, and the story... Oh, I forgot to second seal Anna. The story should be kind of ignored in some ways, unless you really care about the story, but this is not a story-driven Fire Emblem game, and if you came to this game thinking it was a story-driven Fire Emblem game, you're probably going to be pleasantly surprised that it's not. Or maybe it's just disappointing to you, like if you're like Flame and you find things a bit disappointing, that might be the case. Unfortunately, you don't have Ragnell on Chimera, otherwise she'd be doubling here, which is my fault again. Some user error. But Gold Mary's doing what she should be doing. She's like a bruiser. But the story, I would give it like, I don't know, 4, maybe a 5 out of 10. It's kind of silly. There's a lot of absurd points. Overall, it's fine, I guess. It's serviceable. It's a standard good versus evil story where you're the good guys, there's the bad guys, there's the big evil dragon. You know, there's nothing too interesting, but that's like the thing though. It's kind of like a fan game where they're like including all of these mechanics and units from old games, or like characters from old games. So the intention of the game is really to, you know, make a fan game and just kind of make like a basic plot, in my opinion. I think that's what they're going for. Let's go for a big Rider's Bane here. So I'm going to take some huge damage on counterattack, which I'm not a fan of necessarily. So we'll have to maybe body block. Definitely catch a heal. I don't think I can dance that far. Oh, I can dance that far. Okay, never mind. We'll just dance really far. We're going to be doing some dancing and some diving in this particular mission. Alright, so you body block this. And you can stab him. Some Wrath. But the story, I wouldn't give it a high rating. I would give it a low rating. The art definitely stands out, the story not so much. Alright, so what else do we got? I feel like she is better on Wyvern.
I'm getting hungry.
She's getting hungry as well. Okay. Yeah, I feel like she's much better on Wyvern. She can tank a hit better. Alright, so gameplay. Gameplay, I would give like a 9 out of 10. Overall, on DLC, I would lower it. The DLC changes too much about the game, and I don't enjoy it as much. But for just like gameplay, I like the different mechanics, I like the engage abilities, I like the unit building, I like the passives, I like some of the units' personal skills, they're very interesting. I would say I prefer this game's gameplay to 3 Houses, and I played 3 Houses for over 500 hours, maybe 1,000 hours. I have multiple accounts that have multiple save files, so it's kind of hard, but if I'm ballparking, it's somewhere between... It's probably 1,000 hours on 3 Houses. So, the fact that I have that many hours on that game, I really should second seal Anna, so she gets XP here, but whatever. What can you do? Alright, let's check to see if this kills me. Alright, it definitely does. Yeah, this is the problem with Griffin Knight, I find. Like, I can abandon here. Yeah, but then I'm leaving. I can freeze, I guess. Let's see if we get a freeze. Nope, we miss. Alright, now Sadal is dead. Sadal or Chloe is dead. Dude, Wyvern's better, I'm sorry. Staff use on a flying unit, I don't think is that useful. Yeah, he's dead. They didn't do that on enemy's turn yet. Yeah. Yeah, Wyvern is way better. Alright, so let's do this, actually. I need a second seal Anna anyways, and we can talk about the gameplay while I'm doing that. So gameplay, I like that there's chain guard. I think Maddening is pretty fun. There's a lot of different units you can invest in. There's a lot you can do in terms of like emblem strategies. There's a lot you can do in terms of builds. So I feel like the variety of the gameplay is pretty high. There's a lot of units that are viable. There's a lot of classes that are viable. There's a lot of team comps that are viable. A lot of people, for whatever reason, think Chimera is a crappy unit, but every time I use her, she's always really strong. And this is on fixed mode, but there's like, people have different opinions on different units. There's a lot going on with the game. I definitely need to buy a second seal. I need to buy 2 second seals. I need to fix 2 of my units. I'm tired of Chloe's... I'm tired of Chloe being so weak on Griffin. I feel like it's not as good. She's also on a bond ring too, so that doesn't really help. Let's buy 2 of these bad boys. The second sealing system is decent. I do think you have too many options for classing units. I feel like units should be restricted to like archetypes, because that would make it so that you can't just run whatever you want on whoever you want. So for example, like the actual generals are outclassed by random units. So like the actual armor knights the game hands you are typically outclassed by other units. But her defense is only 14 on this. Maybe she's not as tanky as I realize. The strength is higher though, the build is higher. She loses like a little bit of speed. 14 defense. I think she would have had more defense if she was on this. Maybe she'd be like 16, 17, which is more durable. She has more health. Let's just put her on this. I feel like this is much better. Staff use on a damage carry, I don't think makes sense. But the gameplay, I would give like a 9 out of 10 for the base game. Pre-well, I would give it almost a 10 out of 10. It's just really fun. Like before the well, like the well kind of trivializes things. You can get crazy passives. So like, and I can show that too. All right, so now we have to change your inventory slightly. Let's hand her kind of heal. Oh yeah, so here's all these well items, right? Let's hand her an elixir. So now that she's like a dedicated combat unit. And then for Anna over here. So the second seal system, I think this is good to show. The second seal system, if you hit level 20, you stop gaining XP and levels. You still gain SP though, which is used to unlock passives. The second seal system, once you hit level 20, allows you to reclass into the same class so that you can continue gaining XP, but it does cost you money. So there's kind of like a cost to being overpowered in some ways, to power leveling units. It's not that steep and you can easily afford it, but I do like that you can't just keep power leveling forever. I think that's, at least there's some limit. I like when there's limitations on things. I don't like when games let you break them blatantly. I think limitations are a good thing. But overall, I would say gameplay is pretty solid. So like 9 out of 10. DLC, I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I think the DLC breaks the game way too much. Maybe even a 6 out of 10. So then the game becomes less fun the more of the DLC you run. So I just find that it's not as enjoyable to use the DLC. All right, so one thing, I need to do a few things. Chimera needs Ragnall, which I could easily get her. So like, let's go do some management. And I think that's a good time to talk about management, because that is a huge aspect of the game. Managing your army. So mechanics and systems. So let's go to Somniel. All right, so after every mission you complete, you get to do all these activities in the Somniel. And the time on it does add up. Like, it does take a lot of time to do this if you do it every single time. You have to collect all the items from your animals. You don't have to, but you generally should. You should do your 3 arenas. You should do your, well, I'll just go through it. So like, you spawn in. This is what I do. I go over to my dogs, in this case, to get ores. I collect the ores. I collect my well. I don't do strength training, but I used to in my first and second run. I just find that it takes like a minute or two, and it's just not worth it for the +2 strength. I used to do Wyvern Ride. You get free resources from doing this, plus bond fragments. I don't do this anymore. There's a lot of activities. If you do them every single time after every single like chapter and paralog, it adds up to like hours of gameplay of just doing repetitive like busy work. So personally, I'm not a fan of that. So I just do the bare minimum. Like, I just do my dogs, the well, the arena, collect stuff from the bulletin board, and then maybe upgrade stuff and leave. That's what I do. And this is I think optimal. All right, so we need to get her Ragnall, which is very useful because it's a lightweight sword. So the idea is she can enemy phase with multiple different things, so that way she doesn't get broken. And with Ragnar, she usually can double, which gives her crit chance, you know, a chance to roll a crit and a chance to roll Sandstorm. And that's generally how I use her. Now for the case of Chloe, let's see, I think Chloe has, she can just get Speed Taker. I think I should just run Speed Taker on her. It's super cheap to get. So let's talk about passives. So the way passives work is you use bond fragments, or you just run an emblem to build support with that emblem. And once you reach certain levels of support, you can unlock certain passives, which can then be equipped on your unit. So right now I have Lance Power 3 and Speed Taker. So I get +2 speed each time she kills something when she attacks it, and then it lasts for the entire battle. So this is an example of something that's available early. Like, you, as soon as you get Lyn, if you have the SP, you can get it. But it's 2000 SP, and before the Well update, where you could easily get SP, this would be a hard passive to get on most units, and only certain units could get this, or units that were running an Emblem ring for a long period of time could build up enough SP to get this. Bond rings give you half the amount of SP. SP is used to buy skills. So you could have really only run certain things. And also, if you want to get beyond bond level 10, you have to do the Emblem's Paralog. And then if you want to unlock certain abilities, you have to get the bond level up higher, which costs a lot of bond fragments or takes some time by running the emblem, which can be kind of difficult to get. So for example, getting speed +5 not only costs 1500 SP, but if I want to buy the rank from doing emblem training, it's going to cost me a lot of bond fragments. So like just getting to 15 will cost me 2.5k, and I only have 3.7, so I'm about to run out of bond fragments. So there are still some resources, even with the Well, that are limiting factors to builds, and that's generally going to be bond fragments. Now you can fish, like do the fishing minigame to get a bunch of bond fragments. I don't have the patience for it, and every time I try it, I just can't play it. It's just not fun. You just sit there waiting for a thing to bob up and down. It takes like 1 to 2 minutes per thing, and I just don't like it at all. But I understand you can do that. So in terms of like mechanics and systems, the game has a lot. You have your inventory, your weapons, you have engraving, you have refining weapons, you have your passive system, your class has a skill, your unit has a passive, you can equip 2 skills, and then your emblem also gives you passive. So there is a lot of depth here. There's a lot of min-maxing here. There's a lot of room for experimentation and self-imposed challenges. Like, you can just not run the Well if you want a harder experience to make it more like base game before the Well update. I think that's probably the best way to do it. There's the heroes' weapons, which have different mechanics. I feel like more weapons should have mechanics like this, because they're interesting. But unfortunately, most of the base weapons are just, simple things that don't do much. And there aren't really too many interesting relics that do much. Like, the legendary weapons in this game don't have unique mechanics. They just have like good stats for the most part. But for mechanics and systems, I would say it's like an 8 to a 9 out of 10. Aside from the repetitive Somniel tasks, it's pretty fun to min-max things, to come up with builds, to run different units, to run different team comps and stuff like this. Now let's talk about balance and integrity to kind of wrap up this review, because this is very important to me. In terms of game balance, before any updates, I would say the game was fairly balanced. There weren't too many things that jump out as being broken, aside from, like Corrin or Bonded Shield or things like this. But for general balance, I would say base game is like 8 out of 10 balance. DLC is like 2 out of 10 balance. The DLC, like, here's what the DLC does. If you do Divine Paralogs at any point in time, it will overlevel your units no matter how you beat them or how hard the Divine Paralogs are, and it will reduce the difficulty of the main game. And if you beat the Fel Xenologue early, you will get level 20 units, and you can beat it as early as like pre-chapter 7, so post-chapter 6. So if you beat that thing early, you can break the game in of itself just by doing that. So there's a lot of ways, unfortunately, to break the game that I think, I think the DLC just completely destroys the game if you use any of it. And it's very unfortunate that they implemented it in this way, because Cindered Shadows wasn't nearly this bad. So, all right, now let's try this again, but this time with Rag now. Do I double it? Oh, I'm still not fast enough. Doesn't have enough build yet. You do get defense +5 though, which is pretty good. All right, so they're a little bit too fast. Yeah, they're just slightly too fast for her. Unfortunate. Now I could do a goddess dance and like dive those if I wanted, but let's just do the same thing. I think this was good. And then this was fine. All right, and then you can rotate over here to dive. She's a little bit more bulk, a little bit more health. He can chain guard, and then we can hold the center again. But for game balance, this game can be broken with knowledge, and that's true of most Fire Emblem games, so I'm not going to hold that against it. Like on a blind playthrough, the game feels pretty balanced. It feels like it's pretty challenging. If you look up a bunch of things, you'll break the game very easily. To some degree, certain maps will still be challenging, but if you understand how to break the early game, breaking the early game on the base game makes everything else much easier. Oh, he has the sword thing. That guy has the sword thing. I was like, why is he doubling me? Alright, she got some more speed. Here we go. Alright, there's a sandstorm. Alright, here we go. We got Gold Mary coming in here. Tanking. In terms of balance, though, most classes are pretty viable. I can't think of many classes that are just like straight up terrible. Most things are like a B tier. Maybe there's a few C tier classes, but a lot of the, like, I would say more units are viable than not, and a lot of units are really good. So in terms of just like general balancing, I think the game is quite balanced. All right, I have to deal with this guy and his silly little sword breaker. The funny thing is though, he'll break a lance, obviously. Like if I use a lance, which is unfortunate. So like I can stab this when I get broken on enemy phase. He only does 5 damage though. It's very silly. I can hit him with an axe, I guess. His enemies are kind of... Paladins are pretty durable. Here we go, we got a Wrath. There we go, Wrath Sandstorm crit. I'll take it. In fact, that, you know, that's part of the build, so it's whatever. But in terms of general balance, I think the game is pretty balanced overall. I mean, it's not like Three Houses where it's just like wyverns and some sages or whatever. Or I'm sorry. Are there sages in that game? Gremmaries. Wait, are there not sages in Three Houses? There's like warlocks. I think there's not. Hold on. I have to Google this. Three Houses sage. Is sage in the game? I don't think it is. Hold up. Let me cook. Sage. All right. 3. Whoa. What the hell? Some random thing just popped up that was like directories not available. Three Houses. 3H. 3. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it is. All right. Anyways, it was mostly wyverns. There were some other builds that people ran, but it was, for the most part, a specific build, specific team comp. There were other team comps, like snipers were good, and paladins were decent with swift strikes and stuff like this. But for the most part, I would say the game had like low build diversity, and Three Houses felt super generic in a lot of ways, whereas this game, the characters feel like they have more personality and they can do more. Oh, I used Chain Guard there? We just tanked it? Alright, nice. I didn't even realize that. I'm just like talking about this game. Alright, so apparently Chain Guard is goated. But yeah, like, there's more viable classes, there's more viable team comps, there's more viable passives. I think the passives in this game allow for more experimentation than in a game like Three Houses, where the passives are all just like, you deal more damage and you're faster. Like, that's kind of boring, and it's not as engaging as the passives in this game, where you can completely fundamentally change characters and units, and you can completely and fundamentally make like different build archetypes that are fun and interesting. And I think that's just like lacking in Three Houses, for example. Now, Three Houses does feel like more fluid. It feels faster in some ways. So that aspect of it is kind of nice. Yeah, look at this. Now I can just straight up face tank this dude. He'll hit me, but I can tank his enemy phase and kill him. He's probably going to smack the dancer, though, but whatever. Oh no, he's going. Okay, he's he did, but he did it at range. Oh, here we go. His triangle attack. Yeah, they mix in these random abilities in here like this. Alright, so she's broken. She actually might die now. They do keep you on your toes to some degree. Alright, so I guess he's the guy to kill, because he has this weird ability. Let's see. So Anna attacked. Let's go back to when Anna attacked. Let's check out these units. They have some weird passives. Okay, so one that is weapon advantage. Alright, so how about you just don't have that? I won't kill here. But I won't get broken either. And I won't get doubled now. Yeah, sometimes on certain paralogs, they just mix in these random abilities to kind of throw you off. So if you're not paying attention, they'll just get you. Which I think is fine because the game has pulses, so it's whatever. And, you know, if you have the game knowledge... I will say this, when I'm not doing guides or videos, I'm more focused and I pay more attention. But obviously, by virtue of, you know, covering some topic, I'm going to be a little bit distracted to some degree. But in terms of balance, the game is very balanced, I would say. For the no DLC version. With the well kind of reduces the balance, in my opinion. The well reduces the balance to, like, I don't know, 6 out of 10 balance, I would say, maybe 7 out of 10. It just gives you too much. It gives you too much to work with. So we can body block him now. 1, 2, 3. Alright, maybe we can't. He can still hit it all, whatever. I want to put damage on him. It's fine. We'll allow it. Alright, let's see how this guy deals with Anna now. Overall, though, if I had to give the game a rating in its current state, factoring in everything I just went over, I'd give it like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. The story is definitely not one of the stronger aspects of the game, so that knocks it down. The balance has been kind of ruined in some way. Not like completely, because you can just not use the well, but a lot has been changed for sure. So she can switch back to 11 sword after I kill that other dude who can double me. Because he put me at damage thresholds that backup spam kills me, so I have to be mindful of that. So we'll kill him with 11 sword out of spite. Out of spite. No, I'm just kidding. We'll just kill him with 11 sword out of normal behavior. And then we have another lance approaching. Alright, so she survived with 1 HP. See, Wyvern's tankier. I knew that. I run Wyvern enough where it's like, yeah, it's tankier. Griffin's not bad. Alright, she should be able to kill... Yeah, with this. There we go. Get some crits. You get when you factor in the crits in the Sandstorm, she usually kills. Alright, can you kill this in one hit? No. Alright, you're gonna need healed, which he can't do, but he can dance Chimera. Which is basically better. Because she can actually tank right now, and Ike. So yeah, I'd say 7.5 to 8 out of 10. The story is weak. I would say I'd say that's weakest thing. The weakest thing about the game is the story, but I don't play chess for the story either. I always tell that to people. They always seem to be like confused by it. They're like, "What? Chess? The hell are you talking about? What is that?" It's like, I don't know, it's this game, people play, it has zero story, and it's just pure gameplay. There's no progression at all. It's just literal gameplay, and that's it. So I don't play chess for the story, and I don't play Fire Emblem for the story, so that doesn't matter as much to me. But the fact that the balance has been kind of diminished, and certain systems are kind of stupid, I would rate the game lower. Alright, this guy does not have the crazy thing, so we're gonna go back to 11 sword and smack this dude. Boom, take that, you bad boy. And we're gonna take his speed. We're gonna bond. So why aren't they attacking Fram, you might ask? Well, Fram has high support with Anna, which means that she gets a void bonus, and so does Anna. She also has a thing that gives her plus 30 avoid, and she has dual support, which scales your void based on support level. So that's why they don't attack Fram. And that's also why I think she's S tier, because she has supports with some of the best units in the game, including Kagetsu for all you LTCers out there. But yeah. Overall, I would give the game, like, I would say, I would just round it up. Let's just give it an 8 out of 10 in its current state. And 1.0.0, I would give a 9 out of 10. It felt super balanced. The decision making mattered way more, like what units got what rings at what times. Everything just mattered more, and I think it was just a superior game. All right, now in this situation, you might be wondering, if I break the bond, how do I kill these guys? And it's very simple. We're gonna simply punch them to death. So let's make it happen. We'll finish the video by having Fram beat someone to death because it's funny. All right, let's see, silver arts. All right, boom, baby. There you go, Fram beat a guy to death. All right, so thanks for checking this out. Definitely let me know if you agree or disagree with my opinion, which I don't know that makes sense. I mean, you can disagree with my opinion, but it's still my opinion. It doesn't. I mean, I might change it maybe make some arguments as to why certain ratings I gave the thing are better or worse, and I might agree or disagree with you. And I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe, and peace out, Boy Scout.